Here's the deal. I have an idea for a musical and I haven't plotted it yet, and I want to. So we're gonna do that today. Whether you're a beginner or a long-time published author, plotting can be a really daunting task, especially when it's a story you care about. So I wanted to show you how I do it. I wanted to use this musical to illustrate how I start my plotting process and what that all looks like. I've had an idea for this musical for about 6 months, but I haven't really taken it past that first initial idea yet. Before we get started, a quick trigger warning for homophobia and religious trauma. If those things are upsetting to you, you might want to click off. We don't go over it super in depth, but it is mentioned because this is an LGBTQ musical with 2 lesbian leads that is set in an extremely religious town. Okay, so the basic idea of this plot is that there is a town and they always have a saint, and this saint is ordained. The saint is their connection to God, their guider, their leader, their healer. They basically worship this saint. They're a saint. And it's kind of like a monarchy in that the saint is passed from parent to child over and over again. And so it has always stayed in this one bloodline. And our protagonist, well, we have 2. One of our protagonists, Holly, is in line to become the next town saint, but she is lesbian and no one knows. So Holly has been hiding this piece of herself from everyone in the town while simultaneously training to be town saint, literally since she was born, and the story kicks off with her father's passing. And it's just like in biblical times how, you know, the big sins, adultery, murder, homosexuality, all punishable by death. So that's kind of the setup for the story, so I'm gonna bring you with me as I go through the story circle. I went through the story circle a couple videos back, but basically I discovered it in October or September of last year, and it literally changed my whole life. Like, I start every project with the story circle now. It just helps me get a really high level idea of what's going on so that I can then break it down into scenes, because I am kind of, or at least plot beats. I try to avoid breaking into specific scenes because then I feel really boxed in, but I at least need like some plot points and pacing in there. So I start every project with the story circle. So I'm gonna bring you with me while I fill in this story circle for this musical. Really fast, there are 2 things about this story circle that are gonna be different from other story circles you see, and those are that 1, this is a musical, so it's definitely gonna look different than a novel. For example, I kind of can switch between points of view based on just whoever's on stage and who's singing. Novels don't have that luxury. You're often fixed into one or multiple characters, and you don't really want to head hop in a novel. But also, there's a negative character arc. Saint Holly, spoiler, goes through a negative arc where she has a fall at the end. So the order and chaos thing is kind of order and chaos for the other people in the story, and not really for her, but I'll show you what I mean when we get there. So those are gonna be different as we go through this. Okay, enough of my talking. Let's go to the story circle. So I always start with theme, and for this story, I wanted to use the theme that evil isn't always evil. Then I move to character and I define wants, fears, and belief systems, how they work within the story. Holly wants to be with Eden. She wants to be accepted and loved for who she is, but she also wants to take care of the town and do a good job. Her fears are letting her father down, losing her faith, losing her connection to God, and losing Eden, and being rejected by the town. I'm so good at drawing circles, you guys. Okay, so in You, we established that the main character is Holly, and she's been trained her whole life to be the town saint. She loves her father. She's very, very connected to her father. And she keeps up this facade. She's very different by day than she is by night or when she's alone. In the needs section, we establish a few things. First of all, Holy's father is ill. And second of all, Holy wants to be with Eden, but Eden is nervous about that. She knows what the punishment is. And Holy is being pushed to find a husband. So then at this inciting incident right here, St. Silas dies. So in Go, Holy has to take up the mantle, I can't write mantle apparently, of town saint. So she attends her own official setting apart or ordaining, and the story is set in motion. I'm gonna jump in and add really quick that I have a habit of starting my stories way too late in the plot. Like, I will often start with the inciting incident or the first plot point. You have to have some background in order to make the inciting incident and the first plot point matter. If you don't show what normal life is, if you don't show what order is, what that looks like, chaos isn't gonna feel like chaos. You know, you have to set the bar. So make sure you don't skip you or need. They're important. In Search, Holy starts her saintly duties and she struggles with them. She keeps seeing Eden. The people start to love her like they loved her father. She strives to make her father proud and also to connect with God. And she struggles with her grief and meeting expectations of everybody else while she is grieving. Then the midpoint hits. Here's what I think of when I think of the midpoint in stories. I don't know how many of you are into tarot, but I am into tarot. And there's a card called the Tower. And the Tower is essentially your life, right? And it's built on this foundation, which is what you believe. And that foundation is crumbly. And in the card, the Tower is hit by a lightning bolt. That is essentially an external force. It's something external that comes in and hits you. And when you experience a Tower moment in your life, it forces you to reevaluate everything you think and feel. And it pushes you into change. The midpoint is the Tower moment for your characters. This lightning bolt hits your character. They have to reassess and change something. And most importantly, they have to go from reactive to active. Your character is making decisions and making moves in the first half of your story, but it's not till the midpoint that they start making decisions and moves based on what they want rather than what they fear. In the first half, they're running from something. In the second half, they're running towards something. So Holy's midpoint is that Eden's brother proposes to her. Yeah, that's rough. In Find, Holy struggles to decide what to do, and Eden tells her to accept Joseph's proposal. By now, the town loves her. They loved her before, but now they love her. And she still can't reach God. She's starting to lose her faith, but she's trying to hold on to it. She's clinging to that faith. It's all she knows. And by now she's faking her saintly duties. She's pretending to be this saint, and she's starting to feel really out of place and like she doesn't belong in this position. In Take, Holy declines Joseph's proposal. I forgot to write this on the paper that you're seeing right now, but Holy is operating from this belief, this idea that if she can just make the town love her enough, if she can just prove that she is enough, if she can prove herself and earn their respect and acceptance, then she can come out and be with Eden publicly and do both. She can be the saint and be with Eden. She can have both things as long as she convinces the town that she is good, even though she is gay. So, because the town loves her so much at this point, she's gotten her want, right? Her want is acceptance and love. What she needs is to realize that sometimes you cannot make people think any better of you. Sometimes one thing about you will change their whole perspective and you can't do anything about that. But she's not looking at that. She's still just thinking that she's, she thinks she's done it. She thinks that the town loves her enough now, that it'll be okay. So she declines the proposal. And in the wake of that, Joseph, Eden's brother, finds out about Holy and Eden being together. Holy begs the townspeople to love and accept her, but they start to turn violent. So Holy tells Eden to tell Joseph that Holy forced Eden into it, so that Eden will no longer be guilty. So Holy is essentially sacrificing herself in this moment so that Eden can remain innocent and stay alive, because Holy can kind of see what's about to happen. So Holy took what she wanted by declining Joseph's proposal, and in the wake of taking that, she had to pay the price for it, which was that she was found out and now her life is in danger. In return, Holy makes her escape and starts running. But the townspeople hunt her down and Holy is murdered. And the townspeople return to the town victorious. Like I said earlier, the return to order here is a little different because Holy is not the one returning, the townspeople are the ones returning. However, we fell into chaos when Holy took the mantle, right? So Holy starts as saint, we fall into chaos, we come back into order when Holy is no longer the saint. It's also very circular because the story starts with Saint Silas dying and ends with Holy dying. So that's another thing I love about the story circle, is that there's this symmetry and reflection of earlier elements into later pieces of your story. I just love it so much. In Changed, I wrote an H, but I meant to write an E because it is Eden who breaks down and screams at her brother. And when Joseph is named as the new town saint, Eden leaves successfully. She leaves to start a new life outside of this town. So that is how I plot my stories. I started with one idea of, a gay town saint and turned it into this whole fleshed out circle. There are some little pieces in there that I had before I started, but for the most part, I was kind of exploring, stepping back, thinking about it. But all in all, this story circle truly only took me 20 minutes. If you don't approach the story circle with like some semblance of an idea, it'll take longer than that. But if you have an idea, seriously, the story circle will be this quick for you. And that's how you can do it. So thank you for coming along with me as I plotted out this musical. I'm very excited about it. I'm, branching into new, different types of projects. Right now I have a novel, short stories, a screenplay, and a musical in the works. So I am glad I could use this as an opportunity to show you the process as it happens. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for new writing videos every single Tuesday. My poetry book, Bones and Other Splintered Things, is currently on Amazon. The link is in the description. It's only $10. It's this cute little chapbook of poems about trauma and healing, and I poured my heart into it. So if you want to support me by buying a copy, I would greatly appreciate it. Until next week, happy trails.